This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
I didn't think the pain from the shingles rash would affect simple, everyday tasks like bathing, getting dressed, or even walking around. I was wrong. Though not everyone at risk will develop it, 99% of people over the age of 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate at any time. I developed it, and the blistering rash lasted for weeks. Don't learn the hard way, like I did. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding Stand. Let's hit the notes. Final whistle's just gone. Wrexham 2, Chelsea 4. That makes it sound comfortable, doesn't it? It makes it sound very different to the reality that I think most of us just watched. I'm actually a bit annoyed about that performance, and I'll explain why in a second, but I get, first and foremost, I think it's probably the worst we've played under Liam Rosenior so far. I think there's been little patches and games that haven't played great. First half against West Ham wasn't great. The win against Paphos at home was a tough watch. We were dominant, but it wasn't a great watch. And obviously we have lost to Arsenal, 3 times under Rosenior. But in all of those games, I think we've done okay. I thought that was really poor. And I think the reason I'm frustrated is I'm worried about what that means in terms of how the club feels about the FA Cup. And this might be over the top, and hopefully this is proven wrong very, very quickly, because we take the FA Cup seriously. We want to win trophies. But just my reaction to that lineup and the subs, and in terms of what started and what was on the substitute bench and what was brought on, was we don't care about this. We don't care about this competition. And the big focus is on PSG on Wednesday night, which is obviously a money maker, and getting to the Champions League through the league. And okay, that might be a bit too extreme. We've won the game, who cares? At the end of the day, we'll look back on that and go, oh, we beat Wrexham. But we were very lucky to beat Wrexham tonight. We were by far the second best team on the night. We didn't have many chances. Those that did went in. Wrexham had, I think, a lot more. I took at the stats and see how close they were to come to scoring from time to time. But I just thought we didn't play well at all tonight. And I'd always stand up for Chelsea as a team and a club. That's my team. And I don't mind some of the stuff that's happened with the new ownership and believing in young players and this model, as we call it, the project that's going on. But I'll never defend not wanting to win trophies. That's why we're here. We're all here as fans to win trophies. And if there's any sense that money comes over trophies, I'm always gonna land on it and say that's not good enough. And we were a whisker away from Wrexham going to 3-3 with a couple of minutes to go in extra time with that offside from the corner. And if that goes, who knows what happens from that point forward. You cannot say that Chelsea will win on penalties or we'll get another goal or go up another gear, because there was no sign in the game that would be what would happen. And I think I said it, I sort of half jokingly said it after the Villa game, oh, how much better at Newcastle with 10 men than we are. Wrexham had 10 men for the best part of 35, 40 minutes, including injury time. They didn't look like it, did they? And every time Chelsea have played with 10 men, apart from Arsenal at home in the league this year, we've looked like a different team. It's like we've got like 8 men on the pitch. Why are we so bad with 10 men? Why can we then suddenly play against a team with 10 men who looked the more likely to score as the game went on? And it only takes, there's a couple of bits of like good play. Joe Pedro comes on, good finishes, a little bit of luck here and there. But, you know, I'm not even going to go into the game now. I'll leave that to Joe. My feeling, as you can tell, is just, and it's unlikely, I'm the optimistic guy about Chelsea. I'm just really disappointed with that performance, and I'm struggling a little bit because my worry is if we're not taking these competitions seriously, if we don't want to win these things, then frankly, what's the point? Like, what's the point? But maybe I'm being harsh. No, I probably am. And Joe, I'm going to hand over to you because I'm going to keep it short. And I probably overreacted. Let's be fair. The game's just finished. There's a lot of people who don't like the model. They don't like the project. They think the owners are only in it for one thing. They want money. It's all about like building a business and all this kind of stuff. And I've for 3 years defended it and said, no, I don't think they are. Why would you buy Casado for over 100 million? Why would you buy Enzo for over 100 million? Why would you do these things? Why would you, invest like we are in certain areas? But I don't know, tonight worried me because I looked at the lineup and okay, the lineup was going to be a lot of changes. I got that. I predicted that. But when you look at the bench and think there's nothing on the bench here, really, Joao Pedro was on the bench and we saw what he did. Like, he changed the game. But I was like, it's so risky because you had no Cole Palmer, no Enzo Fernandez, no Casado. I couldn't believe that Reece James didn't come on. I mean, I'd have had Reece in at half time. It felt like it needed a captain to come on and sort the team out. When we were like, it was really tight. Was it at 1-1 or 2-2? I can't remember now. But it was like, oh, Chelsea are preparing Jesse Derry. And Jesse Derry looks like a really good player, by the way. It's not about him. But I'm like, okay, Jesse, sit down. This is about bringing on Joao Pedro and Reece James. This is the damn moment. I would have brought him at half time. Get the job done. And I just really looked at that and was like, what is our priority? Why are we not taking this seriously? And all of those sort of like, I've dismissed as stupid stories. And hopefully they are about like, oh, Liam Rosini is a yes man. He's going to do what he's told. I was like, no, he's not. Like, for the only time so far, I've just looked at that and thought, this Subbers bench looks weird. And I don't know why these players are coming on like, we need a goal. Why is Jesse Derry coming on at that point? It just felt a bit weird and I didn't like it. It just didn't feel right to me. And again, let's see what comes out in the interviews. Let's understand a bit more of the picture. Let's not overreact. But I didn't like it tonight. It's given me a weird feeling. And as I said, like, I have a lot of faith in what we're trying to do, but that hit me a little bit tonight. And I think we got lucky tonight. We got lucky, and I'll finish it there. I'll hand over to you, Jay. But Chelsea are very lucky to have got through to the next round, and Wrexham gave him fucking everything. Fair play to them. But for a whisker of a couple of VAR calls, and the Wrexham fans getting used to VAR now. Welcome to the world of VAR, guys. You may well have to live with this when you get into the Premier League. Fuck VAR was the song they were singing, and yeah, I'm with you a little bit, but it went our way tonight, and I'll take that. But yeah, Joe, give us a bit more analysis on the game, but yeah, as you can tell, I'm just a bit pissed off with that.
Well, Chris, I think you've basically hit the nail on the head. I don't know a Chelsea fan alive that would have enjoyed that. Even the fans in the stadium, I mean, you barely heard Chelsea sing all night, to be fair, and for an away game, it really didn't seem like a very engaging tie for them. And I think probably like everybody around the world there watching that in a blue shirt would have been just so disappointed with the team. Yeah, I feel your pain. I think everybody that we know certainly has just felt disgusted with that performance. I mean, it was just so awful. 9 changes. The 2 players that kept their place, Hato and Garnacho, were easily our 2 best players in that starting 11. I said at the start of the game, there was 2 players out of the back 3 that shouldn't even be wearing a Chelsea shirt ever again. I'm absolutely disgusted in their performances. Badia, Shaw and Tosin. I'm sorry, they're just appalling players. Appalling. It's just beggars belief that we are still sitting here talking about these two, and then you can tack on the goalkeeper. Goodness me. So explain this to me. Jorgensen, he has a fairly good, solid, decent performance against Aston Villa. Did nothing wrong, was pretty calm and collected. I'm not saying he's, a world beater all of a sudden, but he had a good game. So you have these conversations with managers and coaches and things, and you're saying to him, this is a race now for the number one spot until the end of the season. So you've played well, you've had a good game, you've got Wrexham in the FA Cup. Oh, by the way, mate, you're dropped again. We're going to bring Sanchez back. Well, what is going on? Like, it's an absolute nonsense. The three of them want to hang their heads in shame for that first goal. Tosin, absolutely done by a long ball again from a 60-yard punt up the middle, the wrong side of his man. Badiashile does not cover the run at all, so he gets beaten a foot race. And Rob Sanchez, who should just come out and boot the thing back up the field 75 yards, retreats back to his goal line, and Smith just literally just hits a fairly tame shot low into the corner, and Sanchez is nowhere near it. I mean, it is a woeful goal to concede. It is utterly abject. You're talking about Premier League outfit, and all three of them were diabolical for the goal. Shameful. And the first half just proved everything that we thought would happen. A under par, undercooked Chelsea 11 that barely plays with each other at any point in the season. You haven't even got Conference League games to kind of come in and go, well, they play every other Thursday. You're now up against a side that are passionate. They've got home support behind them, the Hollywood story, the two multi-millionaire owners and all the rest of it. And you just know you're going to be in a dogfight. And we showed no real fight in that game. The first half was just dreadful. Chances created, almost zero. Obviously, we get our equaliser with a half-decent bit of play. It wasn't unbelievable, but Garnacho kind of stands his man up, gets his shot on target, gets cleared off the line and hits the goalkeeper on the back of the head with a ricochet, and we get our equaliser. But you could not see how we were going to score a goal other than that. We were appalling. And Chris said, you question everything. You go from Wednesday night's highs, free-flowing, attacking football, everybody playing for each other. They look up for it. There's a real intensity to our play, to this today. Low-key, nobody gives a shit. The team's dreadful. The selection is dreadful. Players completely out of form. Pedro Neto comes back into the team, gets red carded for two horrendous yellow cards that he didn't know he got, by the way, and also gets fined by the FA for it. Comes straight back into the team and played like he had his boots on the wrong way around. It was such a shit performance from Pedro Neto. He was appalling on the night. I've never seen someone give the ball away so much in all my life. The passing round at the back was just typical. These players can't play good football. So what do? They slow it all down. I counted, and I think it was the 56th minute, it went from Sarr to Tosin to Badiashile to Sarr to Tosin to Badiashile, and then went back to Sanchez. And almost on every corner and free kick we had, there were times in the game where we got up to the 18-yard box. We turned around, passed it back into midfield, went back to Tosin, went back to Sanchez. We must have done that 4 or 5 times in the match. And we were losing, or maybe at this case we were drawing. But whatever it was, we weren't like winning the game and holding on to possession. But I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. You know what is going to happen with these players, the ones that come in. Mark Guiu, don't even get me started. Is he even a football player? I'm struggling. Now, he hasn't had many first team minutes, so we can't expect miracles. But you're training in a FA Premier League top 5 or 6 team every single day of the week. Surely you've got more about you than what you put in today. Goodness me, it was painful. And then you've got big old Liam Delap. There was a point in the first half where he held off a player and turned it round the corner. And you thought that was quite nice. Other than that, what did he do? The scary thing is, I mean, Chris and I mentioned this a couple of podcasts ago about the strength in depth. I mean, if Delap is going to come in as your number 9 after João Pedro, if he was to get injured or suspended, I don't know what we would be doing up front, because this is so lousy. And yet again, we can see from a corner. And as Chris mentioned, the third goal that was disallowed for Wrexham also came from a near post corner where Badiashile was beaten in the air by Kiefer Moore by about a head and a half. And quite frankly, I do not know how Bruno Cueva has the audacity to sit on that subs bench as a coach. He is horrific. Getting out the club, I'm sick and tired of this absolute clown. The fact that we are still putting everybody back from corners and free kicks and not leaving anybody up when you've just played Aston Villa midweek, who put 4 players up against us. And as Chris mentioned, they were more dangerous on our corners than we were. You've seen it work, and yet we still persist in letting Rob Sanchez try and come through a crowd of people, which we've just realised, by the way, away at Arsenal, he cannot do. We pack the box, make it really difficult for everybody, and concede 2 more goals. The first goal kind of comes out, or the first goal from a corner, I should say. The corner is flicked out to the edge of the box, and obviously it's a whip shot back in, but there's so many bodies in there that the guy does a lovely finish with a backheel finish, but it all stems from a corner yet again. And when are we going to learn? When is this team going to learn? And, we've won the game tonight, and so Chris and I, might be remiss in sort of not coming across as if we have won. There'll be people out there saying, "Oh, they won, what are you moaning about? It's the FA Cup, the love of the cup and all that crap." These games do happen in the FA Cup. You saw Arsenal today play Mansfield. They weren't amazing. They got over the line. But there was a real difference between the two teams. You felt as though Arsenal still had an element of control. Chelsea had zero control over that game. And as Chris mentioned, Wrexham went down to 10 men. We had the extra player, and we somehow looked worse. Why are we giving up so many opportunities in extra time to a team from the Championship who have got a player less? Where's the calm heads, the coolness? I mean, Chris has called out no Reece James, no Cole Palmer, no João Pedro, no Enzo Fernandez. I can sort of get on board with some of it. Enzo not playing. I've said he's played a lot of football. Palmer's clearly not quite right with his injury. And there will be circumstances surrounding that where you kind of go, okay, they do need a rest. And if you're going to rest someone, it's got to be maybe the Wrexham game that you do it for. But like he said, stick him on the bench in case you need him with 15 minutes to go. You can bring him on. Obviously, João Pedro scored his goal in the last kick of the game. I didn't actually think João Pedro was that great when he came on tonight, but he did show his class with that final goal and that finish. It was a brilliant goal. He took it very, very well. But overall, we have to be pretty appalled by what we saw. And part of me thinks is Liam Rosenior saying to the board, "This is what we've got. These are the players that you've signed that you want me to work with. And are you happy with that? Because frankly, they're not good enough." Or is he being told, because we've heard from Thomas Tuchel this week speak about his love of the club and his time that was really, really fun, and he really enjoyed Chelsea and he didn't want to leave the club. And we know all this. He said this before. But he then said, "I wasn't prepared to be a yes man." Now, we absolutely know, I can love Liam Rosenior all our life. I can say he's a good manager. I'm really enjoying his football. I can say all of that, but I can also say there's no doubt in my mind that he is being told at times, not every week, but at times, who to pick and who to play. And even though in his press conference before the game, Liam Rosenior was very bullish on the game and the team and the FA Cup and what a trophy it is, and it's the most famous trophy in the world and he desperately wants to win it. Talk is cheap, and you can't say all those things and then put out a half-baked team. I'm sorry, the two things don't go together. And that's where I just feel like, look, I'm probably wrong about this, but it just smelt like he was told, we need to make changes. And Man City have made 10 changes tonight. So the big teams do this. We aren't the only club to do it. But our second string is not strong enough. It simply isn't. And we know these facts. We know all the mistakes. We know what Rob Sanchez is like. We know what Badiashile is like. We know what Tosin is like. We know what Mark Guiu has got. We know what Delap has got at this stage. It's not very much. And what was staggering was that Wrexham scored their second goal, and we were about to introduce Jesse Derry, and we've got João Pedro on the bench, Reece James on the bench. You're going, no, this is the time now. We need to throw the Alamo at them. Otherwise, you're going out. There's no second leg here. That you have to do it now. Don't wait 5 minutes. It has to be now. And I just felt like all the substitutions, and even though I thought that Asugu did okay when he came on, like he didn't pop any trees, but he did all right. You're relying on people that have barely kicked a ball this season to dig you out of a hole. Asugu's not played, he's been injured, and has got no real chemistry with the team. Mark Guiu is a youngster that has barely played all season, and when he has played, hasn't looked great. He had one half-decent moment against Burnley where he chased down a ball and scored a goal, but other than that, has barely kicked a ball in anger for us. You've got Jesse Derry coming on, who's a youngster and a kid. You've got Malo Gusto coming on. As we all know with Malo Gusto, he's very hit and miss. He can be good and he can be bad, and often he's bad. And even to the point where there was I think it was a couple of minutes to go in extra time maybe, when Wrexham just sling a ball into the box, and he's so thick that he just takes somebody out on the edge of the box when the ball's going nowhere near them and gives away a free kick right on the edge. So you're going, well, that's great. You know what Gusto can do at this stage as well. He can be, say, so up and down. These are not the people I want to see. I mean, I don't actually think, I might be in the minority here, but I thought Josh Acheampong had a awful game. The kid is being hung out to dry. He is not a right wing back. He looked really uncomfortable. He was getting himself under the ball from longer passes. His passing out from the back wasn't great, because right wing back is a very different role to right back, and actually a completely different role to centre back. Like, it's a really massive change up. And these aren't mugs, Wrexham. They're sixth in the Championship. They've got some ability. They've got some half decent players. And even though Josh scored that brilliant goal, and I'm going to give him loads of credit for that because it was a brilliant finish. Actually reminded me a bit of Reece James' goal against Wigan all those years ago when he whacked into the top corner. Also, it was a bit closer in, but a great finish into the top bins there. But other than that, I thought Josh wasn't very good. And I'm not even entirely sure why we went to a back three. It felt very uncomfortable for us tonight. A back three with the right players, I think, would work. This team was just so disjointed. And we could have just gone Fofana and Acheampong tonight, centre-backs, no problem. Malo Gusto at right back. He's not played a lot of football of late, really. He's come on the sub. He played against Villa, I know, but he's been a bit in and out up until then. Him at right back, Hatter at left back, bang. There's no need to change all this nonsense. Back three is just to accommodate the crap players that we've got. The reason you play a back three generally is because you can't defend very well. So that's why Tosin and Badiashile have to play in a back three, because they're absolutely fucking useless. So you need other players to cover them. And they've been given the absolute runaround tonight. Trust Josh with a player like Fofana alongside him with some experience. And then in midweek, you play Sarr and you play Trev Chandler. They're in and out decisions now, in my opinion. These are the four that you need to use. I'm not overly sold on Fofana. Josh is obviously a younger player and will make mistakes, but he's got real quality. But a right wing back, do me a favour. You're just killing the boy's talent. One of the bright spots was Hatter. I thought he was outstanding again. Easily our best player. Garnacho probably wasn't far behind him tonight, even though Garnacho wasn't his scintillating best like he was against Aston Villa. He was still head and shoulders above some of the players out there. But I thought Hatter was outstanding. Brilliant in defence, brilliant in attack. Could have scored 1 or 2 goals, made a couple of chances for other people here and there. Generally looked a class above, really cutting his teeth now in the Premier League and obviously the FA Cup. Looks a good player. And yeah, I keep saying this now every single week. He seems to be getting better and a bit more confident, and you can see he's getting a little bit annoyed with certain things, which shows he's growing into the team, which I liked. Them two, so Hatter and Garnacho, definitely the pick of the bunch for me in terms of the players that started the game. I mean, Jorgensen's basically made himself look like a world beater by not playing tonight, because Rob Sanchez was so dismal all night long. Dismal. Again, listening to a podcast about Chelsea this week, and there was a guy on there talking about Rob Sanchez and thought that he'd been harshly dropped, and he didn't deserve to be dropped for the Aston Villa game. And I'm sorry, you cannot keep making all these cock-ups. And if Jorgensen had come in and played really poorly against Aston Villa, you'd be like, look, both these goalkeepers aren't very good, and Rob Sanchez is the best of a bad bunch. But unfortunately, Jorgensen came in, did really, really well, didn't play against Wrexham tonight, and I hate to say it, but he has made himself look brilliant because Rob Sanchez is an absolute clown. And again, he's getting to the point, he's really getting there with me where I'm thinking, I've seen enough. I'm probably in the camp of I'd seen enough anyway. But even to the end of the year now, I'm just kind of going, I think you're done. I think you're completely cooked. You are finished at this football club, and I really hope we don't see you in a blue shirt ever again. But sadly, I think such as our goalkeeper issues that we will see him again, and we'll be pulling our hair out once more. I thought Lavia and Santos probably one of their worst games. I was actually quite looking forward to them two playing together because they've probably never done that before, such as Lavia's injury history and Santos being away on loan a lot of the time. And I thought Santos was probably marginally better, but I still don't think he played great. He gave the ball away a lot. And Lavia, again, probably the worst I've seen him pass the ball. Again, short passes weren't great. His long passes weren't great. And generally, he's coming back to full fitness, so he may well be carrying something. And this isn't probably a bad game to play him in, even though in some cases you don't want him playing against lower league opposition in an FA Cup. You kind of want to save him for, the last half an hour against PSG on Wednesday night or Tuesday night, where you can actually influence the game against a top-class side. But yeah, I thought centrally in there we didn't play great, and it just meant that Wrexham kept coming through us, all day long. And credit to Wrexham, I thought they played very, very well. I thought they played within the rules, as in like they didn't time waste or they didn't try and be clever. They were a bit unlucky on two VAR calls. I mean, they were very, very, very close. But offside is offside nowadays, and even though I do feel sorry for them in that, it's the rules, and I've got no sympathy because if it happened to us, it would have been the same. So we've had plenty of these calls over the time, but obviously the Magic Feather Cup, as they call it, wasn't shining down on them today, and they absolutely should have won the game. There's no question. They were far better in every department, from goalkeeper through to the defenders, their midfield and their forwards. I think were all better than us, but we just had that little bit of luck on the day and a little bit of quality through Garnacho's finish and João Pedro's finish kind of got us through. The other two were quite fortunate. Obviously, the Garnacho shot the goalkeeper in the back of the head, and then Josh kind of bumbling his way through to finish. It was a great finish, of course, but the way it got there was quite fortunate. Wrexham can feel very harshly dealt with tonight, I think. But my overall feeling towards this team, this Chelsea, is one that I just don't want to watch. I've seen it for a couple of years now. We know what these players can do. And I'm obviously talking about the reserve players, the B team. They are really disappointing. They have been a disaster, some of them, an absolute disaster. And I just think if you've gone with a back four, gone with Fofana, gone with Acheampong in the middle, gone with Jorgensen in goal, put Malagusto at right backs, give him some game time, put Hato at left back, I think that is a more than good enough team to get the right result and put in a good performance. It doesn't change anything too much. But no, again, we are accommodating players, and this is what we do constantly. We are accommodating players that are poor. And as I've said for God knows how long now, if you change the goalkeeper and the two centre-backs, or in this case, three centre-backs, every single week, you will not concede goals. And that's another 2 goals conceded against Wrexham tonight. Could have been 3, should have been 3. And once again, we just look completely calamitous at the back. And one of these days, we are going to have a stable defensive partnership. We will keep clean sheets. We will look solid and dependable at the back. But until that point, we are going to keep conceding goals hand over fist because it doesn't work. This method of football does not work, I'm afraid. And our defensive record is just abysmal, absolutely abysmal. We're scoring plenty of goals, but at the back, just car crash TV. And although we won the game, it does not feel like it tonight. And tomorrow we will reflect, and I'm sure not everything will change. Opinions won't change on all of it, but after a night's sleep, we may come back with a little bit more positivity. But I've got to be honest with you, just feel disappointed and pretty upset with that performance tonight. And until we sort of being such a woke football club and wanting to please everybody that's in the squad, then unfortunately these performances are going to continue. And I can only hope that someone stands up to the sporting directors and just says, enough is enough. I'm playing who I want to play, and I don't care what you fucking say, quite frankly, because at the moment, that model of playing everybody and keeping everybody happy is not working.
Hey everybody, welcome to your 30-second laughing session brought to you by The Laughing Cow. Ready to laugh? In 3, 2, 1, and... Okay! Great job, everybody! Now unpeel a wedge of The Laughing Cow light spreadable cheese, a delicious snack with 2 grams of protein and 25 calories per wedge. Feels good to have a cow, huh?
Morning after the night before, and yeah, I've cheered up. Don't worry, I have cheered up. I was trying to think this morning about just why I was so disappointed with what happened last night. Obviously, we won the game. We're through to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. That is the bigger picture, and that's what people will remember. But I think just simply, I was really looking forward to the game. I think Joe and I were talking all day, so I'm really looking forward to it today. It feels like a big occasion against Wrexham with all the Hollywood stuff going on. I think after that, the Villa game in midweek, where it was brilliant. We were so good. You kind of felt like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to just watching my team play again. And as we've said, before the break, we don't need to go back through it all. It was just really flat. It was just a really flat performance. It was just disappointing. But we are in the next round, and quarterfinal draw obviously on Monday evening, I believe. And yeah, as always in the FA Cup, it is all about the draw. You want to obviously avoid Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. They're the obvious ones to try and avoid. And then outside of that, if you can get a home draw in the quarterfinal, that's always a massive occasion. And who knows, as I said, Chelsea only 1 game away from Wembley, and my goodness, we drew a couple of good days out at Wembley. We're owed it, aren't we? In terms of the team performances, I won't go into too much more detail on it, but I think just a couple of things I think to pull out is probably something I mentioned on the pod a few weeks ago, which is that it's just a really, really big couple of months for quite a few players in this Chelsea squad, I think, to really prove whether they have a future at Chelsea. The one thing we can say about the owners and sporting directors is that they're not shy of a deal, of dealing in the market. And I think it will be another summer where we see probably quite a lot of ins and outs in the squad. And I'm looking at players like Delap, maybe like Asuga, obviously not his fault. We've not seen much of him at all. Like Lavia, probably Jorgensen. I think players like that, probably Neto and Garnacho as well, and sort of saying like, right, I think Gittins will be picked soon, by the way, I think, so he will play again this season. There's quite a few players there that I think need a good end to the season or will be effectively on the market, for want of a better term, in the summer. You may have noticed that I left out Tosin and Badiashile from my list there, and I think it's because my mind is very much made up about their futures, but that's one for another show. And just a final word on the game before Josh Acheampong, as Jay said there, I think we love Josh and feel like he's just not getting to play enough minutes in what is his best position and certainly where his future will be. Liam Rosini has said that himself, that he sees him as a centre-back in the future, there's no question. But it was a big moment for him to score that goal when we needed it. I was really worried at that point. It just felt like the momentum of this occasion was going to drift away from us, and he turns up in a big moment, scoring a really, really good goal. Just when we needed it. So yeah, massive shout for Josh Acheampong. Well done. Really well done. Let's move on. So PSG on Tuesday night. It's massive, isn't it? It is. Oh, Wednesday night. Sorry, Wednesday. PSG themselves did play this weekend. They got an extra day of recovery time. So they played on Friday evening and lost at home to Monaco. Monaco themselves 5th in the table, so a bad result for PSG. They're top of the league by 4 points, but Lens have a game in hand, so certainly their title race is PSG. Let's face it, normally win the French league, but they're going to have a proper title race this year, it looks like. They have a couple of injuries, notably in midfield, with Fabian Ruiz and João Neves both out at the moment. And the other big one they've had out is Dembele, obviously their real talisman. Unfortunately for Chelsea, he did come on yesterday and played, I think, 30 minutes off the bench. So you would certainly assume he'll be involved in some capacity against Chelsea. It's just whether he is obviously fit to play. It's a big game. And I mean, no one needs me here to tell you how good PSG are. We all saw that ourselves in the Champions League last year. They're going to, let's face it, be really bang up for this game after what happened in the Club World Cup final, and will certainly be wanting revenge. That said, I don't think they're quite the same team that they were last year, when they were without a doubt the best team in Europe and basically tore everyone apart in front of them. Obviously lost a couple of players in the summer like Donnarumma, and I think that they just don't have quite the same sparkle when I've watched them this year. Obviously needed to rely on the playoff round to get through in the Champions League as well. So not quite what they were, but I guarantee it's going to be a tough tie. Being away first, I think, gives Chelsea a good opportunity. This is going to sound obvious, but the absolutely key thing is just to stay in the tie and bring it back to Stamford Bridge with the tie very much open. I think if we do that, we've got a real chance. We saw that against Barcelona earlier in the season, that those big nights under the lights at the Bridge, when we get it right, the atmosphere goes up, 10 notches these days compared to your classic Saturday afternoon Premier League game, and is a really, really tough place for European teams to come. Stamford Bridge has still got that proper feel of a proper old-fashioned stadium. I have heard many a player from Barcelona back in the day talk about that before and say what a tough ground it is, because it feels like the fans are so close to the pitch and all those kind of things. So the remit for me is very much make sure we are still in the tie. And, even if we lose the first leg 2-1 or something like that, you're still in the tie, and it means you've got a really good chance, I think, in that second leg. One thing that has been quite well publicised, but just for those who might not know, is that the French League, at least the French FA, have basically postponed PSG's game that would have been in the weekend in between. So whilst Chelsea have Newcastle at home on Saturday night, before then the return game against PSG on the Tuesday, PSG effectively have no game in between. So they'll have a full 6 days off to prepare and rest up, which is a thing you often see other leagues do, but not the English league. And I guess we have so many games, it's hard. But yeah, certainly gives PSG a little advantage. I said this before, when the draw was made, games like PSG in the Champions League is why you want to be in the Champions League. These are the occasions that the club and the players should absolutely relish. So much talent on the pitch for PSG. Hakimi, probably the best right back in the world. You've got, obviously, Dembele, I've already mentioned, who I think, won the Ballon d'Or recently, didn't he? And we've got Barcola Kvaratskhelia, never say his name right, the amazing winger, just absolutely fantastic to watch. And then you've obviously got Neves, if he's fit, and Vitinha in midfield. They've just got so much talent all the way across their side. And it will be a real test for Chelsea and a real test for Liam Rosenior. His biggest game as a manager, no question. Can he get us over the line in a big game? It was the one thing that you could say about Maresca, that actually he did his best work really as Chelsea boss in the really big games. And I think for Rosenior, it's a real test for him to see what we'll do. I'll hand over to Joe for his thoughts on the game and obviously what he'd like to see from a lineup point of view and things like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Chelsea owe us the display after last night, despite getting through the game. And yeah, we'll be back obviously to respond. But Joe, over to you. How do we beat PSG?
Good afternoon, mate, and good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I've woken up, understandably happy that we've gone through. Chris makes a decent point there, and I know that. I think we were just so disappointed, the pair of us, in what we saw yesterday, having had such a fantastic performance against Aston Villa in midweek, and the way we played and with the aggression and skill was just wonderful to see, like something we haven't seen for such a long time. And when you're starved of it for what felt like a couple of years, your brain, when it gets it again, it's like getting sugar for the first time in ages. You kind of go, oh, I want more of that. And I think that's where I was with the game yesterday. You see a lot of changes. You feel like it's going to be disjointed before it's even started. And then the moment the game begins, there's misplaced passes all over the shop. No one can get hold of the ball. You don't create anything. The defence looks terrible. It looks weak, porous. The goalkeeper, who's supposed to be the number one in Rob Sanchez, ends up looking like he could barely get a game in the under 15s. And you just start to panic and you start to worry about the whole game from start to finish. I'm not saying the FA Cup, but, we know this from history. Smaller clubs play bigger clubs. The bigger clubs tend to rest players. They tend to move their squads around. I'm not saying they don't care, but obviously they're trying to use their squad because they've got more important games coming up, i.e. League games or Champions League games in our case. I get it. I understand. But Chelsea, we know as a club, we have seen these players so many times. If Chelsea put out a few academy players, if Jesse Derry, for example, had started, I could get behind that more. That's something I'd almost prefer him to start and have Neto on the bench, because at least it says to Neto, mate, you were a disgrace against Arsenal. You were an absolute disgrace. Don't give it all this nonsense about you didn't know you get yellow carded and all that rubbish. But I'm going to start Jesse Derry, and you're going to sit behind him tonight. I don't care that you're earning more money or you're a Portuguese international. I'm not interested. You've cocked up. This is a game where I feel as though I can give one or two of our academy prospects a start. And yes, I might need to lean on you at the end of a game. Maybe Chelsea go a goal up and Jesse Derry suddenly starts giving the ball away because it's the heat of the moment. It's the FA Cup 5th round, 6th round, whatever. And we just need that little bit more experience. I might bring you on with 20 minutes to go, and I want you to go out there and prove to me you're not going to be a complete clown like you were the other day. That's fine. Look at Reggie Walsh. Reggie Walsh came into the first team under Enzo Maresca. He played quite a few Conference League matches. I think he may have come on in a Premier League game, or certainly in a cup match, League Cup games maybe. But we haven't seen him for a while. If he was to start alongside Santos, or maybe Santos and Lavia, let's have those three in the middle. Again, that's something that excites me as a fan. Reggie Walsh would probably want Lavia and Santos around him to beef up that midfield. A bit of help. Maybe play a three in the midfield instead of playing three centre-backs, two of which who have been the absolute pits ever since we signed them. And as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure there are a lot of Chelsea fans like me who will agree, if they never play for the football club ever again, we won't care. We've seen the same mistakes week in, week out, whenever they've started a game of football. And quite frankly, we're all sick and tired and bored to the back teeth of it. None of them take responsibility. They're supposed to be these older heads and all that nonsense. I mean, do me a favour. They're absolutely woeful, and you wouldn't expect them to get into the Wrexham team, quite frankly. They are championship defenders at the very best. And what caps it off for me is that they make Tosin captain every time that Enzo or Reece James doesn't play, and that really grates on me so bad. I'm like, this guy is leading my team. Oh, God almighty. What have we become? But hey, that game is done. I must stop talking about it because I'm going to drive myself absolutely insane. And yes, we go to Parc des Princes, or Princes, Paris Saint-Germain's ground on Wednesday night, which is going to be a terribly difficult game. They've been speaking about this game, the players, the Paris Saint-Germain players, for a couple of weeks. They got asked in some interviews about this game coming up and are they looking forward to it, etc. And yeah, there's some deep scars there. They have basically said that they were tired, they were knackered, and Chelsea only beat them because they were fatigued and the weather was too hot and they had a long season and they got to the Champions League final and it was very competitive, for example, and all that. And basically, they're making excuses. Now, we got to the Conference League final. Admittedly, we didn't play a lot of our first team to get there. So you can argue that some of our players played a lot less football. And there's probably something behind that. So let's not rule that out completely. However, on a one-off game, as we all know, once you cross the white line and you're involved, Chelsea on the day, probably one of Enzo Maresca's finest tactical moments. He did really have their number. And to be fair, Chelsea's players probably played above and beyond their normal game. We know that Pedro Neto on the day was fantastic, really industrious, had a really good game. Also, João Pedro was awesome. Cole Palmer, as you know, was absolutely outstanding. Levi Colwill was leading the team. Malo Gusto was running up and down the wing, creating stuff. I mean, you couldn't have said or predicted before we even went to the Club World Cup that we would even have a game half as good as that. And it was outstanding from minute one right until the very end. And even Rob Sanchez made a fantastic save near the end of that game to keep the clean sheet. It was brilliant. It was outstanding. But like we say, this is a new game. Their players are right up for it. I think our biggest Achilles heel, and I don't know what the French league is like in terms of set pieces and how they play things, but if they watch Chelsea, you'd like to think they're practicing their corners because we cannot defend them. And I think that what we must be careful of is Chris is exactly right, is not getting run over. Because if we go there and play really open, they're a far better team than Aston Villa. They will cut you apart. So you have to be a little bit cautious. At the same time, you've got to stay in the game. So to stay in the game, you've got to push them back. You can't let their players come onto you for 90 minutes. If you're going to do that, then you may as well not go because you're going to get beat 3 or 4-0. As you've seen, they are fallible. Monaco beat them 3-1 the other night. They're not a side that are completely devoid of getting a hiding of someone. And as we've seen with PSG in the past, maybe not this exact team, but they have imploded. If you get at them and you start getting ahead of them, they can sometimes just completely go to pieces. So if Chelsea can go there with a game plan and maybe score a goal or two, it is going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. They'll come to the bridge, and like Chris rightly says, no one really likes coming to the bridge, particularly in Europe. I don't know why, but the teams find it quite a difficult ground to come to. So the ball is in our court as how we play it. If we're going to continue to defend like amateurs from corners and set pieces, then we're going to get railroaded. And players, they've got match winners all over the park, say Bacola and Doué, etc. They are going to destroy you if you let them. Players like Reece James and Cucurella have got to be on the money. And the two centre-backs that he picks have got to be the right centre-backs for the game. And in the forward areas, you have that sense that Palmer's going to come back in, João Pedro's going to come back in, Enzo, Caicedo. Who knows about Esteval? I'm not sure about him yet. But what a lift it will be if we can get him out there. Although I have to say his defending is something to be desired. And even though I've criticised Pedro Neto for getting his red card the other day, we know what a game he had against Hakimi on that night. And wouldn't surprise me if we do something similar to try and nullify him. He didn't enjoy playing against Neto because he went up and down with him. But that would require Neto to be disciplined all night long. And well, after his red card debacle, you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. I think, in my opinion, you can't play Garnacho and Esteval. I think that would be winger suicide, quite frankly. I think even though they're brilliant going forward, I just don't see them getting back and helping the midfield. I can see that in the second leg, quite possibly. But in this particular game, I think I would like to see at least one of them who is prepared to kind of do the ugly work, the ugly side of the game. And, it doesn't matter what you think of Hakimi. I don't think he's the most likeable person in the world, let's just say that. But whoever comes up against him might want a little bit of help on the night. But just seeing Esteval on the bench, I think will just give all the players a little bit of a lift. And if we do need a goal, say it's, I don't know, maybe it's 2-0, we're 2-0 down. Hopefully we're not. But if it is that, and you think, you know what, we have to try and get something here, then I'd rather see Esteval warming up and giving us all a little bit of hope, at least that the game is not dead. We also have a manager that has played PSG 3 times, and I'm sure he's watched them play many more times than that. So he would have done his homework, and his record against them is a 4-2 defeat when they played them at PSG. And I think Strasbourg were praised incredibly hard for how well they fought and they attacked PSG on the night. He then played them again and he beat them 2-1, ending PSG's 40-game away winning run, which is incredible. And then they played out a 3-3 draw with Strasbourg leading 3-1 with a few minutes to go, and PSG managed to salvage back a late draw, which was, by all accounts, very undeserved. So Liam Rosenior has played this team with, I would say, a lot worse players, let's just say that, and managed to get some really good results against them. So it doesn't scare me, and I don't think it should scare us as a fan base. If we want to play the best and be in the best competitions, then these are the games that we want to play in, right? So we could have got Newcastle or someone like that, but luckily we've got a very interesting European tie. As Chris mentioned, playing Premier League sides is always a little bit difficult and a bit hard, even though we might get one in the next round if we go through. But this is a big game for us. And I always remember someone talking about Tottenham a long time ago. Well, they used to say that as long as we get in the top four, it's fine. There was a period where Spurs were finishing around that top four position for ages. Never going to win the league, never going to finish outside the top four, really. Fourth position was kind of theirs for a few years, but they'd often go out in the group stages. And it was almost like, yeah, but we made the Champions League. It's like, well, yeah, there's no point just getting to the group stage. Like, you want to go on and win the thing, or at least get to the quarterfinals or the semi-finals, actually give your fans something to cheer and get behind. So let's not go here with an attitude of we're just pleased to be there. I want us to go there with an attitude that we can actually go and win this thing, because looking at what I see, I don't rate Real Madrid. We've already beaten Barcelona. Okay, Bayern Munich beat us 3-1 at home, and there are some good Premier League teams, but you look at Liverpool, they're not amazing. Tottenham, not amazing. Man City and Arsenal, probably the two best teams in it. And even though we wouldn't really want to play them, I can guarantee you they won't want to play us either, because like Chris said, going out to a London team, particularly when you're the favourites for the tournament, they'll be very, very disappointed if that was to happen. So we just have to be mindful. We have to be careful. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and try and go for it in the first game. But equally, at the same time, you can't be a shrinking violet. Don't sit there and wait to be picked off, because certain teams will do that to you, and PSG is definitely one of them. Newcastle went there recently and got a 1-1 draw. So when it's all said and done, we've got a fighting chance just like anybody else has. So I really hope we can do the business on Wednesday night. Like I say, you haven't got to win it in the first game, but like Chris said, for goodness sake, do not lose it. Whatever happens, hopefully the game is a lot of fun. And even though I don't want to go out, of course, please, oh please, let's not go out with a really terrible defensive lapse like we've been doing of late. We need to really shore up the back four and get the right players playing. If we can do that, then we've got a good chance, as good a chance as anybody. So fingers crossed for a fantastic, positive result. Come on, you Blues.
Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.